All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Tree Dog Tuesday, and I am here with Mr. Wade Grashwitz of Joy and High Standard Dog Food. And this is the Fueled by Joy Working Dog podcast. And I was talking to you about this here a while back. We don't sit down and talk dog food very
No,
often.
everything
We're
but
usually,
bud.
yeah. And I thought now would be a good opportunity to sit down because it's that time of year, spring. Some guys are making the switch from uh, one formula of dog food to another. We've never really sat down and just done a full podcast on dog food, even though this is a Joy Dog Food podcast. So I've got Mr. Wade here with me, and Wade, I just thought we would start with some questions that me and you both get on occasion, and you know, we've done some stuff on the history of Joy Dog Food and how it started, but I'm more concerned about the now and what we got going on now at High Standard and Joy both. And one of those questions is, High Standard and Joy. Of course, you own both. There are some differences, but there are some similarities. So I was just wondering if you could kind of go through how Joy and High Standard came about to being owned by you and the differences in the dog food and the similarity.
Okay. Going back in history, going back in time, um, kind of all started with High Standard Suppliers, a retail store that we still work out of today. Um, I was 25 when I started this, and in 1988, and in 98, I decided I want to start my own dog food company. So
What I'm going to stop you there for a second. What decided, what possessed you to just decide you was going to start your own dog food company?
well, I'd been here 10 years, and I had this place open 7 days a week. Um, and the thing that sold constantly was dog food, and we sold a lot. I was getting At one time I was getting direct shipments of diamonds. Um, just couldn't control the price like I wanted to, um, and I knew if I could get the ingredients that I wanted in the bag, and where I could control the price, I could control the ingredients, where you don't least cost formulate. I knew I could sell a lot of dog food.
Hmm.
So I saved up 10 grand, $100 bills at a time until I could get, I bought $10,000 worth of packaging. It was a 2618. There was a 2316 formula and a 2212. Started there. Old, nasty looking paper bags. Um, it just, first year was really tough. And after the start of the second year, it just kind of took off. Um, I didn't know how to manage it. I didn't know what I was doing. I was clueless. But when you make mistakes out of your own pocketbook, you learn pretty quick. So, and then fast forward to 2000, about 2000, end of 2009, start of 2010. Joy Dog Food had been kicked around a little bit. Um, the Koshers, of course, started it, owned it. They sold it to Milk Specialties. Milk Specialties had it for about a year. They sold it to ProPet, and ProPet had it for about, I think, about 5 years. And of course, they manufacture over there. Cargill owns the plant now, but they manufacture over there. And they called me on the phone, asked if I was interested in buying it, and I said sure. But we argued and dickered, and I don't know how many times I said, you know what, I'm out, I'm not buying it. You guys are crazy. I'm not buying it. And they did the same thing to me. Hang the phone up on each other, back and forth. But it took a little over a year to finally come to terms. I bought it, and it was like, I always compare it to an old truck. Everybody that had owned Joy Dog Food after the Koshers, they didn't change the oil in that truck, barely put gas in it. everybody would just drive and getting as many miles as they can, just drive it off the ditch and leave it. So ingredients were bad, packaging was atrocious, um, and I'm not a big hero, but we just slowly, because it's very expensive, we slowly, methodically changed some ingredients. Of course, the packaging, we improved the packaging, and the rest is it's on a roll now. We've got it.
Yeah.
It's it's doing well. Joey is really really doing well.
Why? Because I would imagine that Joy is not, because you see these dog food companies that have come and gone since 2009, 2010, or 2000 up to now. I mean, there's been several that have either fell along the wayside. They're still in business, but they've kind of fell along the wayside, or they completely went out of business. You could have bought any of those. Maybe some of them for a better price, maybe some of them for a little higher. But why Joy?
Oh gosh, when I started coon hunting back in the '80s, um, and I love coon hunting. I think everybody knows that. But when I bought Joy back in the '80s, Joy was just enormous. I mean, it was as big as Purina. I mean, on the dog food side, probably bigger. And back then, I'll be honest with you, I was poor. I couldn't afford to feed Joy, and it was cheap. I I fed anything that was on sale. Just couldn't afford it, but uh, Joy was just it was almost like a ritual, almost a cult. If you weren't
Mm.
feeding Joy dog food back in the day, there was something wrong with you. The only thing wrong with me, I just didn't have the money to buy it. But there was a D&M dog supply down here. Everybody hung out in there. Um, Clyde Treadwell, Dave Juvers, all those guys hung out in there, and they sold Joy dog food in the area. And man, he would just go through full truck after full truck after full truck down there. Um, but yeah, that's just the name,
Yeah.
just the prestige of Joy dog food. So
Whenever you got it, you said you changed some ingredients, and I assume that some ingredients had been changed, throughout all the ownership switches and things like that. And you said it wasn't a well-maintained product at the time. Um, what specifically were you looking for in a dog food? Because we're talking about high standard and Joy both, and high standard, certain formulas are the same in high standard as they are in Joy.
yes,
And so you had seen the success I assume you were having out of your high standard formulas, and you wanted to use the same thing in some of the Joy. But that was pre, your first high standard was pre 2420 and all that stuff. But what ingredients and what specifically did you want to put back in the dog food to make it a quality product again?
well, a lot of people, on an ingredient chart. Okay, let's just say you have a meat source, chicken or beef or pork or whatever, and then most of them, you have a wheat or corn. Well, on that ingredient panel, if you put everything is based on a 2,000 pound mix. Okay,
Hmm.
so if you've got 500 pounds of meat, 500 pounds of corn, 500 pounds of wheat, um, you can put meat first if you want to. You can put corn first if you want to. You can put wheat first if you want to. But anybody that's got a brain is going to put meat first.
Hmm.
Um, and that's the way I'm going to say 90% of the pet foods are basically set up, organized that way. And we don't do that. Our meat source is substantially higher than the second, third, fourth, fifth ingredient.
Right.
We load the meat up, and you have to use a good source of meat, and you have to use a good source of chicken fat. Um, and nowadays, I look at kcals per cup. We try to we try to use everything we can to run that kcal up. And if you'll look, and there's other dog foods out there too that they're good. There's a bunch of good dog foods out there, but when you start comparing kcals per cup, there's some out there higher than us, but not very many. Not
Hmm.
very many. So
What did because you mentioned how it was kind of a slow go and to get Joy back to its former glory, which um I think that's happened. You know, when people associate the world of hunting dogs and stuff like that, Joy's right there in the mix. You know, in the coon hunting side, we're probably the top dog food as far as, you know, the amount of dog food consumers consume, you know, on the hound side. And plus definitely um tops as far as, you know, giving back to the sport and donating to small, large youth events, whatever.
right.
Of course, we have this podcast that a lot of times is focused on hounds and things like that, but it didn't start that way. I'm guessing when you bought Joy, I'm guessing it was kind of hard to get that brand recognition back whenever you first got it.
It was really hard. The Kosher family had they had purchased a plant down in West Plains, Missouri, and I hope I'm telling the story correctly. But they had tried. They went in there, and it wasn't actually a pet food plant. That's what my understanding was. They made it a pet food plant, and um, and they didn't do this on purpose. But the dog food they were kicking out of there was not very good. They had the plant, Oakdale, PA. They bought this plant down here, and it didn't go good. In fact, I remember getting some Joy into my retail store in the '90s, and they had a really bad weevil problem. It was really bad. I mean, you open up a bag of maintenance or anything, and you'd see the moths fly out of there. So I there were a lot of people that had a bad taste in their mouth just from, and I understand um, from that particular deal down there in West Plains. So it just takes time, and I always tell everybody when I'm talking to people on the phone or in face to face, um, dog bag of dog food can't lie, won't lie, can't. If you feed Joey dog food, if you try it, you're gonna like it. You might not like the price because we don't skimp on stuff. Um, we don't least cost formulate. We ride the roller coaster all the time. But if you feed it and you know you understand what a good dog food is, and you watch your dog stool, coat, energy levels, um, you'll see the difference. You will see the difference.
When we, because you mentioned low cost formula, um, and price, of course, and that's I don't care if it was in the early '80s or if it's 40 years from now. Uh, Especially houndsman, price is probably the most talked about part of any dog. And there are guys out there that, you know, as long as it's quality and as long as it ain't completely breaking the bank, they're going to stick with the formula no matter what, you know, as long as their dogs look good. But then there are guys that price is a big sticking point, and we all know those guys. But try to explain to the listeners about price, where price hikes come from and why, and all that stuff, because a lot of folks don't understand. They see Joy Dog food going up in their local retail store, you know, a couple dollars, and then all of a sudden it's Joy's making more money because they're doing this or that, and we're all that stuff. But uh, what's the case there? Why is that dog food actually goes up in price? It's specifically Joy and High Standard.
Well, there's about three or four or five variables. The first one is we do not we do not switch ingredients. So sometimes you'll see we have beef meal or chicken meal. Well, you can't substitute anything for beef meal or chicken meal. There's just no substitute. If you have meat and bone meal in there, there's a variety of things you can use, and you can move around, switch, which will changes the dynamics of the pet food as well. Um, So you have ingredients cost, and we ride the roller coaster. So if you see beef meal jump up, we either have to just swallow it for a quarter and eat it, or bump it up a little bit. And I will say we have not raised prices. What's it been, Josh? Year and a half now? Year?
Uh, I believe this is the sixth quarter, I think, that the prices have been steady coming out of the
Yes.
plant.
Yeah, we have not raised anything. Um, so you have the ingredients, and then one thing people don't understand is freight. Freight is a huge instrument in pricing. So if we're shipping, we just shipped some pet food into Florida. I think it was $5,400 for freight. So, and I got people paying $1,000 for freight.
Mm.
So if you have a $4,400 a bag different or $4,400 difference in freight, you break that down over, let's just say 800 bags. Do the math.
Yeah.
Okay, there's $5 a bag. There's $5 a bag difference because of the freight. So if the dog food in, let's just say, Illinois or Missouri or Wisconsin is $50, it's got to be at least 55 in Florida.
All right.
So, and then other people, you get some distributors out there want to make 15 points on a load of pet food, and some of them want to make 30. I, that's out of our control.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll see people advertising dog food on there. Well, I'm paying $48 for high energy. When somebody said, "Well, I'm paying 55." Well, the thing they don't understand is guy paying 48 is probably closer to the plant. The guy paying $55, there's probably a difference in freight and what the retail store or the distributor wants out of the product. So um, the the internet, Facebook, social media has changed pet food
It's been hard.
dramatically.
Great. It's been great for some things, for our advertising, for
Yes,
spreading the word about what we do and what we are. But the price, the price thing, it's killer. I mean, it is absolutely killer on us.
it's going to get to the point if it keeps going, and I've told a lot of people this, 35 $40 bag of dog food those days. I really think you'll see this in the next 2 years. They're over.
Yeah.
They're over. I can watch I can watch freight, I can watch ingredients, and everybody hollers, well, corn's down, wheat's down. It is. But the price to manufacture that pet food um, per ton is astronomical. Um,
Well, you got to figure that with inflation like we're having, the wages go up at the plant.
yes.
Everybody from the owner down to the guy that sweeps the floor at night, they're all going up. And so it costs more to make that pet food, even with sometimes cheaper ingredients. It costs more to hire a driver right now. It costs more to fuel the semi up. It costs more to not only do that, but to truck the corn, the protein source, all that stuff to the plant. And so they've got more money in it, even though the commodity prices are a little lower. And so I try to explain this to people, but all they're seeing is, here's Joy, right there at the PKC World Hunt, and they're donating bags at the Youth Nationals, and they're donating to this and that. And now all of a sudden, my dog food prices went up. And I try to explain to them that those two things are not connected,
No, not at
but
all.
it falls on deaf ears sometimes.
Well, yeah, and you know, people here in the office, marketing, I have people call in. We discuss all this. Um, there's very, 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 very few dog food companies that donate like we do. Okay, there's a couple, two or three out there. I'm not going to call out names, but some of the bigger pet food companies, people pay attention. They don't donate anything. They donate zero. Um, Even at these trade shows, Um, Even at these trade shows that we attend for our distributors, um, some of these some of these bigger companies, they'll say, "Well, we'll come, but we're not going to give you any money. We're not running discounts." It just um, they're in control right now. Um, I root for independently, privately owned pet food companies. These monster corporations. Sorry, guys, I don't root for you. Um, I root for these privately owned, and I'm not going to go through and name them, but um, the pet food companies that are privately owned, I um, I root for them. I don't
Yeah.
because I know what they're going through. It's not easy.
Well, when you look at the hound sports, the only other person, only I'll name one, and that's Purina, is the only other company that I see at any of these events consistently. And we have a really good working relationship with the guys at Purina, you know, the
Yes,
Mark Cassio and all them, and they're instrumental in what they do at the Professional Kennel Club, where we do a lot of our stuff as well. But there are, you know, let's call it 8 to 10 giant corporations that are selling millions of tons more than Joy does every year,
oh yeah, yeah,
and they don't give nothing. I mean,
nothing.
not a bag, not a dime. They give more the United States or HSUS, the
Not a
Humane
shirt, not
Society.
a
They got
hat,
yeah,
nothing, Josh.
oh,
I mean, since we're calling out Purina, I, you know, he's a personal friend of mine and competitor, and they're cheaper than I sell a lot of pet food, but Joey Kashi owns Specialty Feeds down there.
hmm
Um, One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your entire life. Super, super nice guy. You know, um, and they, on price they beat our brains out.
yep.
But I don't want to see anything bad. It's value pack. Um, you know, Privately held. His dad started it. Joey's taken it. Did well with it. There's a prime example right there. Good company, good ownership. Um, Nothing bad to say about those guys at all.
Yep.
Nothing.
And there's a place for them companies that beat us out on price. Um, there's a definite place for them. We're not.
Sure.
You've told me before that Joy just wants a small piece of the pie. We don't want it all, and we it's important to have good working relationships with other dog food companies, I assume.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, don't get me. We don't talk every day, but there's times where you know I'll pick up the phone, call, or they'll pick up the phone, call me. Hey, this is going on. Yeah. Hear about this? Yeah. I mean, back and forth. We
Yeah.
talk. Owners talk. They don't. It's not like stab each other in the back. Um, but yeah, there's and and Joey and especially they donate too. They donate some feed. So it's just these bigger corporations. Look around, guys. No hats, no shirts, no dog food,
Yeah,
zero.
and they don't need to because people are still buying them. You know, they're still selling 50 bags out of your local Dollar General every day.
Yes.
So, but anyway, before we get onto a tangent rant about that, let's get into the nuts and bolts of the dog food. What is Joy's most popular feed right now?
Oh, it's not even close. High energy, 24/20.
And
Um,
what do you think makes it so popular?
well, you feed it, you'll know why. Um, People that do try it, they're gonna come back. They're gonna feed
Yeah.
it again. Um, Two big things right now with Joy, and we're working on that. Um, is distribution. There's some areas we're not really prevalent in, and we're going to fix that. But 24/20 is far and away our number one seller. Super Meal 30/20 Super Meal is second, um, and deservedly so. I mean, both of those are over 500 kcals per cup.
hmm
So I always compare it to if it's a chase, if it's a race to 1,000 kcals, both those pet foods are under 2 cups. If you want to feed 1,000 kcals a day, or calories per cup, some of our competitors, guys, are 375. So, they're not 3 cups, but they're closer to 3 cups. We're not even two. So when you start taking price per cup, um, we're not that out of line when you're comparing our brand to a product that's under 400 calories per cup.
Yeah. What about you talked about how Joy really loads the meat up in their formulas, and yeah, we have other ingredients besides that protein source, but what does that do? Because you hear different things about absorption and what a dog is actually, getting into its body and using. Um, what difference does all that meat make, and is it correlated to the calories per cup and how a dog uses that and burns that and uses it as fuel?
It boils down to digestibility. Um, you can load a pet food up, um, and everybody's probably fed one a pet food like that before. They almost swell when you feed them. Um, you can you can just a dog will just almost like swell up its stomach, um, and it's full of just grains and fillers.
Hmm.
Um, but digestibility is the key. Um, and if you got concrete runs and you can watch that closely, everybody's, well, how much should I feed? And it's regulated on the back of the bag, but anybody that's fed dogs knows every dog's different. That's just a guide to start with. If you're really wanting to feed a dog correctly, you will watch that dog's weight, um, and the stool content. So many people call in here. Well, I've been feeding this red Solo cup or this red Handy Mark cup for years and years and years. Well, sir, you're feeding too much. Well, I'm feeding the same amount. No, you're it's way too much. You're going from a 300 kcal pet food to over a 500. It's too rich. Cut that in half. Well, the dog will starve it. No, it won't. It won't. It will not starve it. Cut it in half. Start out by cutting it in half, and just watch the dog's weight and stool content. Um, it's funny. We get so many phone calls in here, and I've had people call in here and say, "Well, I went to feeding Super Meal, or I went to feeding." Um, well, one guy he won a bag, and he said, "I went to feed it." Said my wife said, "Please don't feed that dog food anymore because there's so much energy in the kennel. They bark and bark and bark, and it's just they'd switched from just a real generic feed to high energy,
Mhm.
um, and just the energy level that you get off a good pet food. And Joey's not the only one. There's other good pet foods out there too, um, but just the energy level from the digestibility of our pet food is, like I said, if you feed it and you try it, give it a couple, 2 or 3 bags, you will definitely see a difference.
Yep. I was To close this out, Wade. What I want to do is give you um, an example of a dog, and then I want you to tell me what Joy formula you think that would best suit that dog. Can you do that for me?
Absolutely.
All right. So I've got 8-year-old retriever. It's a little on the hefty side. It's fairly active during the day, but it is a retired gun dog, and it does mostly just lay around the house and yard, and it's a family pet. What would be the best formula to feed that dog?
Well, if it was me, um, if it's an 8-year-old lab just laying around, I would just feed the maintenance
Hmm.
plus, 22 protein, 12 fat. Uh, Ours is not a normal maintenance feed. There's glucosamine, chondroitin, omega 3, omega 6. Um, in that product. Um, and when if it gets colder and the dog's outside a lot, you could bump it up to high energy in the wintertime. But an 8-year-old dog, just average, actively just around the yard and stuff, a maintenance would work great.
Okay, so I've got a treeing walker female that's 4 years old, and she's just getting ready to have her first litter of pups. She's on day 35 or 36, I think, of her gestation. What should I be feeding her?
I would either be feeding her super meal, Joy's super meal, 30/20 is probably what I would feed. Um, or a lot of people will actually feed those pregnant females puppy food. But most people, I would say, I would feed the Joy Super Meal the 30/20. That's what I would feed.
Okay, what about when that pup, she has those pups that's a great big healthy litter on Joy puppy food and super meal, and it's 6 months old now. And what would I be best? It's getting ready to start hunting pretty hard. What would be best suited to feed that dog?
You're talking about the pup, right?
Yep, 6 month old puppy getting ready to be hunted real hard.
If it's the wintertime, um, I'd put it on 30/20 Super Meal. If it's April 8th today, I'd put it on high energy 24/20.
How long would you feed a litter of puppies the puppy food, or after say you keep a puppy or you buy a puppy at 8 weeks old, how long would it stay on puppy food?
Um, Gosh, that's a good question. Um, back in the day they'd say a year, but I really don't think it's a year anymore. I would say 4 to 6 months.
Yeah,
I would keep it on puppy food 4 to 6 months.
yeah.
The quality of adult foods has increased in quality so much that um, you're really not you're really not hurting a young dog by switching it, 4 to 6 months to a really good super meal or high energy on the Joy
Yeah.
side.
What about a 2 year old English setter? And I'm a guide, and this thing hunts wild and hard and covers miles upon miles a day. And it is just, it's a fight to keep enough calories in this dog.
30/20 super meal, no doubt.
And now that same dog, it's July. It ain't doing near as much. It's still a high strung, active dog. I get it out. I run it a little bit every day, but it's not during hunting season.
Drop it to high energy 24/20.
All right. I can't think of any more examples of any more dogs that I can think of anyway, unless we get into the little bitty. What if I got a 4 pound Yorkie?
Oh Lord. Um, Good question.
I don't know either. You're gonna have to answer that one. Wade.
I would Our 2618 adult chicken. Okay, I think I would go there. It doesn't need all that fat. Um, I think I'd go the adult 26, and that's our third best seller, by the way,
Yeah.
too. 2618. It's a chicken based. It's 400, and I don't want to misquote. It's 460, 470, 480 calories. I
I
think.
think it I think it's 485 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Wade. That's all the questions I got. You got anything to add before we wrap this up?
No, just thank all the people out there that feed Joy Dog food. Of course, we're family owned. Um, you know, I, all the
Made
employees
in
I talked to,
America.
made in America. Um, all of us are very active. We're not a huge company. All of us are very active. I talk to Josh every day. Um, I talk to our sales staff, most of them every day. Um, it's not um, it's not a great big huge corporation that nobody talks to anybody. Everybody talks to everybody. We all get along. There's 6 or 7 of us here in the office. Um, it's just a different atmosphere. It's not your typical pet food company.
And to clarify something that we talked about earlier, I remember when I first went to work for Joy Dog Food, and I pulled around the corner to the office, and I was like, "Is this it?" This you could still see, you could still see the old high standard pet supply business or dog supply
Yeah,
sign on the bit where it'd been taken off, and it's just a regular building with a 3 or 4 small offices in it and a weight room, and that's about it. And I'm
that's
thinking,
right.
this is my kind of working environment right here. That's great. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like you guys are in a high rise over there in Peekskill, Illinois.
No, it's this. We're in the same building. We built this. It's a 30 by 53. No, it's a 40 by 53 building, and we've been in here since first day of business was November 8th. Excuse me, November 8th of 1988.
So
So I've been coming to the same office since working every day since 1988. So
it's pretty cool, Wade. And from the outside looking in, even if I was not, with Joy Dog Food and doing the things that I do, um, as a coon hunter and a hound man myself, I can't see supporting very few other companies like Joy Dog Food deserves. So thanks to you, and you ain't got anything else, we'll wrap this up. But thanks for being on here.
yep. Thanks for having me.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is Wade Grashwitz with Joy Dog Food. This is Tree Dog Tuesday, and we thank you for listening.